Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for Bishop Talk today. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to watch this next segment that we are going to get into in just a few minutes. Today, I am happy to have with me my friend Caleb Orozco. And Caleb is the executive director for the United Belize Advocacy Movement, and which I believe he's been in position for quite some time. And with his talent and his skill and his legal background, if you just Google him, you will find out that he has a wealth of information about him, not only in the, but also the justice work that he has done for his country on behalf of the LGBT community there. So, Caleb, welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule for just a few moments to talk with me.
Well, first, let me say that you've created a whole new me. I thought my name was Caleb Orozco, but I'll take the way you pronounce my last name
It's
as
my
well.
Southern Alabama accent.
Ah, okay, understood. Okay.
So
Oh,
tell us a little bit about who you are and about things that are going with you and a little bit about what led you to do the work that you're doing now.
okay. Well, after 2019, where our Court of Appeals reaffirmed the High Court, or back then we knew it as a Supreme Court decision, rendering our sodomy law unconstitutional on the grounds of sex, conscience, freedom of expression, and a few other things. 5 years have passed, and amazingly, on the day the court gave the decision, it was crickets. There
Mm.
was no constitutional marches. There was no crying that we won the second time. It was just crickets. I was more hungry that the wanting to get out of my sweaty clothes than I was worried about protest and opposition, which is crazy. Since then, we moved fast to partner with our friends in London and with the multi-sectoral response on HIV to try to advance comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation, which is called the Equal Opportunity Bill. The Equal Opportunity Bill process, however, was held hostage by uh, evangelical groups in the country, and I would argue anti-right evangelical groups in the country, across the country, in 6 consultations. So we only have 6 districts. We don't have province, or we don't have states. And that was unfortunate because in 2020, January 2020, when that happened, we discovered an election time, which was declared November 2020. And after they moved forward to kill the bill, and after they continued with opposing the inclusion of orientation and identity in the bill, at the last minute, the Council of Churches, the court, traditional churches sent the text to the then Prime Minister Barrow to say, we support the bill, quote, we support the bill in principle, but not in its current form.
Mm.
And that is why we knew that the bill was not going to be passed before the general election, and our government committed it to the next administration. They knew what was a cup of tea, but the government at the time gets credit for endorsing the cabinet note for moving the comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation. What they don't get a credit for is not having a backbone to complete the process.
Mm. Okay.
Separately, what has happened is the government have decided, um, well, before I get there, what has happened is we continue to engage the Bishop Wright, which is the Anglican bishop, the Catholic bishop office with regards to their misperception of the bill. Unfortunately for us, the bishop died from colon cancer. That's Bishop
Mm.
Asio, the Catholic bishop died from colon cancer, which forces us to start the work all over again, and we don't know who is going to be the new bishop from this area. With regards to the Bishop Wright, the Anglican bishop, he was engaged, and a quiet conversation happened around the unfortunate misrepresentation of the bill. But he specifically, who then was the president of the Council of Churches, had a responsibility to ensure that the bill was represented in an accurate way. He and I disagree on expectation because he at the time did not feel that was his role or function, only to deliver the position of the Council of Churches, which I think is sad because such a position in my mind is complicit by omission, indifference, and inaction. Now, as
And your
the
two organization works close together, I take. Your organization works very closely with the council, correct?
um you would want to think so, but I'm your resident troublemaker. I don't work, my organization does not work with the Council of Churches, but engage them to monitor and evaluate position on particular legislation.
Got it.
To the process demands that we engage the psychology of the head of churches in order to understand how we can strengthen communication and dialogue, because while we may have advanced in strategic litigation, the psychology or practices of oppression still needs to be dismantled, and it can only be done through dialogue. And the idea with the conversation with the bishop and engaging the Catholic Church specifically was to establish a window, a door to walk through so that understanding could be promoted. And so one of the biggest weaknesses here is understanding is lacking of our community, right along with understanding how the human rights framework applies to us.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's a forgoing struggle. Um, for me, from my lens, it's political navigation. From their lens, it's religious dialogue. And so that has to be reconciled in a way that is civil and clear. We haven't successfully reached that point of civil messages and championing in a kumbaya moment. We're missing the kumbaya moment. With regards to the next point, hate crime legislation was developed, introduced by the then Attorney General Marin to cabinet, but she was told to revise some of the terms. And so the bill it's really an amendment to our criminal code. The bill sought to address five characteristics and elevate any acts of violence against them to aggravated assault. Unfortunately, the Attorney General left, and that process of addressing hate crime has to start over all over again. The next step was the launch of the Constitutional Commission, and that was launched in November 2022. But in that process, I've had to tolerate dog whistles like we're concerned about the children, gay marriage. I've had to address civil bigotry where um, people might not be insulting, saying homophobic remarks, but they let me know that I'm tolerated in the space. But I have news for them. I've been tolerated most of my life,
Mm.
so I'm not waiting for them to tolerate me, because I'm there to give trouble and to challenge the position of complicity by omission, indifference, and inaction. I'm there to challenge their comfort zone about being tone deaf.
Mm.
The fourth aspect of this is that we're looking at economic inclusion data, economic development data through an LGBTQ plus lens, where we're trying to integrate the issue of economic, social, and cultural rights into the state's process for data collection. It is like pulling teeth and having surgery with your fingernail, pulling out your appendix with your fingernail. You know, it's not going to happen. Your nails are not that sharp.
Right.
But it requires patience, vision, a transnational and national partnership, and it requires a little bit of nagging. And of course, being your resident troublemaker on TikTok, um, respectable nagging has become an art form in my
Mhm.
life.
So I guess, my question, I want to jump in here. It's like it's one thing to pass legislation, but it's another thing to shift attitudes, and that's kind of sounds like it's a major. Uh, Same here in the United States when we have marriage equality passed, all the work to lead up to that. You could pass something, but it does not necessarily mean that attitudes are going to shift right along just because a bill or a law has been changed.
Mhm. Well, let me add, we've done the poll on public opinion, and attitudes have shifted in the right direction with regards to tolerance and acceptance. What has not shifted is the religious sector perception of our population.
Mm.
And that is our fundamental challenge because when they see me in their office, they run. And I don't want to run because I have a heart condition. It's called getting tired. Um,
You're in it for
um,
the long haul, my friend. You're in it for the long haul. So just get adjusted to the marathon run.
the marathon, not a sprint. So I am committed to the long-term investment, but we need help in finding bridges to open up the conversation around the misunderstanding of human rights and the misuse of the Bible to slap us in the face with time and time again to understand. And I say that because this then translate into the state negligent of its constitutional and international obligation. This then gives people permission to continue acts of violence, whether it's psychological, physical, or sexual. And it gives families and people in the system, whether it's the workplace or church, whether it's government, doing reform to continue to exclude us and the full enjoyment of our citizenship. I'm here to try and dismantle at least two of that some way in the law reform. If we can get one passed, then I've done my job and the worms can have me. But the worms will not have me until we get one piece of legislation passed.
Well, you have been labeled, as I shared with you earlier on a site that I was looking at, that you have been labeled as the face of the LGBTQ rights movement in Belize. And knowing what I know of you, I 100% believe that you will continue to be the wonderful agitator of the system that you are, and working to dismantle those systems that preventing the justice work that needs to be done for the LGBT community there. So I guess my next question would be is where do you need so not you need if you desire, but how can people best support your efforts and what you're doing there? I mean, it sounds like you definitely are in a very religious environment where religion plays an important role in governmental politics and decision making and outside enforces things along those lines. But how can people best be aware more of what you're doing, your work? You are the face of it, representing so many people, and also representing people who are not able to give their voice publicly for many reasons. So, what do you say to people who are like me? How can we help you? How can we support you?
Okay, first things first. We have a GoFundMe online on the website. Do share the GoFundMe. We need money. We can fight our battles by wishful thinking and thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers don't pay our bills. Separately, my work is intersectional, so I look at other issues like disability. I look at other issues like our colleagues who have been fighting for customer land rights for the last 5 years. I look at the issues which relate to the poor. And I look at these issues because our people can be affected by those three issues.
Mm.
Um, with regards to, um, oh, I don't know, coverage. If there's somebody somewhere who's writing an article, an academic, a book of some kind, feel free to drop a line of our challenges and beliefs in that line. I do streaming, granted, not Hollywood type streaming, but streaming that shows my face, that provides analysis on the context of systems of oppression, discrimination, that kind of thing. The last one I did was the hilarious nature of the leader of the position trying to weaponize his opponent's perceived sexual orientation, but then his party never committed to advancing the EOB. So how can that benefit us? I'm also interested in people reaching out to our religious leaders, the Catholics reaching out Catholics, Anglicans reaching out to Anglicans, and where they're liberal, progressive, open-minded. I have no idea what is the correct religious term. Evangelicals out there who can understand, who understands the struggle or have a history of our struggle, reach out to our friends at the National Evangelical Association of Belize, um, Pastor Lewis, Lance Lewis, Pastor, uh, well, he claims he's a pastor. We'd reach out to them and engage them in constructive dialogue to see if, what's the word, their hearts can be softened a bit and redirected where it's properly needed to be.
Do you ever think that you might have another calling in your life that may involve ministry? Legalism and ministry, kind of the scales of balance go hand in hand with you, it seems, of holding folks accountable.
I already have a call. I discovered that I owe Jesus my car insurance and have to go pay in a few minutes. I already have a call. My brother right now needs a picked up 3 miles from here. He needs to leave. I already have a call that I
Mm.
speak my truth as a Sagittarius. And if I need to be the odd one out, I'll be the odd one out. You, uh, and the call is long, so we'll take it to where it needs to go as the universe provides.
And I love how you do that. So, Caleb, thank you so much for taking time to be with me. And on behalf of the Global Justice Institute and Bishop Talk, we just want to thank you for your work that you're doing. We see you, we recognize you, we appreciate you, and we're here to be a support any way we can. And you've kind of listed some call to actions in our conversations today that I definitely want to follow up on. So, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up for today?
Well, I'm a Sagittarius, so a call to action is all about doing, not just saying. And finally, the struggle continues in this part of the world.
And we're in it together. And my friend, you be well. Thank you for your work and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Will do. Bye.